Okay. Are we ready?
Are we all good? Hold on. They just gave me a new recorder and it's beyond my ken. All right, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I just do a preliminary thing on tape before we start?
Yeah, that'd be fine. In fact, you could put them under oath. That'd be awesome.
Oh, I don't have that power. All right, this is an interview in the case of State versus Paula Huff. I believe the case number is 2013-0470. It's an interview with Sergeant Tim Froby. The time is approximately 10:09 on July 10th. We are in a conference room in the Pima County Attorney's Office, 18th floor. Present are myself, Colleen Taney, last name is spelled T-H-O-E-N-E, Sergeant Froby, last name F-R-O-E-B-E. Ms. Paula Huff, she's representing herself pro per. There is no advisory council present, and I just blanked.
Detective Ed Salgado, S-A-L-G-A-D-O.
Okay. So just before we start, and I don't know how many interviews you've done, I'm sure you've done quite a few in other settings, but in interviews such as this, there may be questions that by law can or cannot be asked. So if at some point I step in and say that that's not something this witness can answer, it's not a personal attack, anything like that. If it's something that you think you're entitled to, I'm happy to let you file a motion. We can let the judge go from there. But if that's the case, we'll just put it on the tape, make sure the question's preserved, and then we can move on from there.
Okay. All right.
And other than that, the way it usually works is you get to ask all your questions. At the end of it, I may just ask a couple of clarifying questions just to make sure we have accurate notes on everything like that. But generally, I don't ask a lot of questions. And then once we're done with that, we can go off tape and it's all settled.
All right, I have one question. If he's not going to be under oath, how do I know he's going to be telling the truth?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that nobody in this room has the power to put somebody under oath. I can't give you advice on how to handle that, unfortunately, and I know we've talked about it. I know it makes it difficult, but that's just how these interviews work.
Okay. So I guess my first question is a moot point, which is, are you under oath right now?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Do you have any opening statements regarding my case? None?
No, I do not.
Have you received any training in Title 36, Section 28?
Yes, I have.
Okay, when did you receive this training?
In both 2012 and 2013.
How was the training given? In what form? Did you go to a class and take tests?
I attended two different conferences that provided information regarding Arizona Medical Marijuana Act, and I've also been provided additional documentation through the state's website regarding the Medical Marijuana Act.
Were you tested in any way as to whether you understood your training or not?
There was no test.
Okay. And what form was that given in? Did they hand out printed materials? Did you?
There were printed materials as well as a speaker, as well as a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. How long have you been participating in raids like the one that took place at my house on January 10th of this year?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
How long have you been participating in raids? Like with the Counter Narcotics Alliance? Similar to the one that happened, you remember my house. I know I look a little different with my clothes on, but...
You remember. I have been assigned to the Counter Narcotics Alliance for almost 5 years this time as a supervisor.
Okay, and do you normally audio record your raids?
We typically tape record our search warrants when we are doing those, yes.
Okay, did you record the raid that you participated in at my house in any way, shape, or form at any time?
I have no idea of that particular specific on that search warrant. I wasn't the case detective on that, and the case detective typically has a recording device.
And nobody else?
No.
Let's see, so I guess where is your recording would be a moot point. Do you remember who radioed in my medical marijuana card number to verify that it was valid?
I believe that was me,
That was you?
and it was not via radio, it was via telephone.
Okay, and do you remember what the status of my card was?
I was told by the terminal operator that it was not valid at the time.
Not valid?
That's correct.
And, do you have a recording of you calling out my card number over the telephone so that we may ensure that the correct numbers were called out?
No, we don't record that.
There's no recording whatsoever of that? Okay. Do you have any recorded evidence whatsoever that my card was in fact invalid?
I just have a phone conversation between myself and the terminal operator.
Was that recorded?
Not on my end, I don't record that.
Okay, please explain in detail how you would determine the validity of a medical marijuana card. Explain the process, what you do.
You've just stated it. We call the terminal operator and they tell us whether it's valid or not based on the number that we provide them.
And is having a medical marijuana card probable cause for checking for compliance with Title 36, Section 28?
Not sure I understand your question.
Is having a medical marijuana card, if I have a medical marijuana card, is that probable cause for you checking for my compliance with the law with Title 36, Section 28?
Not in and of itself. If you're asking if I can just go up to someone and ask to check their medical marijuana card, no, you don't have to provide that.
If somebody calls in and says, she's got a medical marijuana card, but she's got 50 plants over there, would that be probable cause for checking for compliance with Title 36, Section 28?
There might be other circumstances based on that call. I can't speculate on the information you're giving me in a scenario like that. I don't know who that caller is. I haven't been able to verify that information, so I don't know. You're giving me a situation that I don't have enough information to make that decision.
According to your narrative that you filed on April 25th, you're the one who radioed in my card. What time did you radio in my card?
I called in the card. I don't recall the time.
Was it dark out? Was it light out? You had to have remembered how many times do you have a naked woman standing on a porch for an hour and a half?
I don't remember you being naked. Doesn't.
What was I wearing?
I believe when you came to the door, you had a towel on.
I don't believe a towel counts as clothing. So you don't remember at all what time you radioed in my card?
No, I do not.
Okay, and when my card was radioed in and came back not valid, who acted as witness? Were there any other witnesses, just you and the radio operator? Were there any?
For the third time, I was on the telephone. I wasn't on a radio.
Ah, okay. Well, when my card was telephoned in and came back not valid, who witnessed that?
I'm on a telephone, and the person on the other end of the telephone, that was a phone
Who was the
conversation.
person on the other end of the
I
telephone?
do not know who the operator was at that time.
Can we find this out, Colleen?
I don't know.
I think
since we
this
don't
is really
have-
crucial, that's why.
Well, just a couple things before we move on. Just to clarify, I think what she's getting at is, was there anybody else standing next to you while you made the phone call, or it was just you on the phone with?
Yeah, I was on the phone with
Okay.
the terminal operator. I don't know who was around.
We've mentioned terminal operator a few times. Is that the same as the TWX?
Twix operator, yes.
And Twix, is that police-based or is that based with DHS?
We call our Twix operator at TPD.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a TPD terminal operator, and then they go ahead and do the checking, and then just
I'm
give you
not
the
sure of their
information.
procedures.
Okay. Ms. Huff, I'm happy to see if that's something we are capable of finding out.
Okay.
If it's something that we are, then I'm certainly willing to go ahead and disclose that. I don't know how feasible it is, because I don't know what kind of records we have or anything like that, but I am happy to look into it. So let's go ahead and move on, and then we can...
Okay, when you find that person, I'd be happy to interview that person at trial.
Okay.
And are you normally dispatched to cardholders' homes to check for compliance with Title 36, Section 28? Is that normally what happens?
No.
Have you ever lied under oath?
No.
Have you ever been dismissed, suspended, disqualified from a case, or had a case dismissed, including on appeals due to your lying?
No.
Okay.
And just to ask a follow-up question, you're not on the Brady list?
No.
You've never been disciplined for anything that would put you on the Brady list?
No.
Okay, so we can go ahead and move on from that line of questioning.
Okay, and what I'd like you to do here for me is I have the event chronology of everything that happened during my raid on my home. I would like you to point out where on this event chronology it is that you called in my card, because every single time something happens here, it's on this. Every time a cop left a fart, it's on here. So I would like you to point out where it is that you radioed in my card. That will show up on that event chronology.
Well, I've never seen one of these before, but I don't see.
I did highlight your number to kind of help,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't see anything other than my name or my designator indicated by each of those
Okay, 'cause
times, so I'm not sure.
if I might draw your attention to one thing where somebody had radioed in my rap sheet and then my son's rap sheet in Arizona and California. I know why that is. That's due to the 911 call. So, I mean, this is obvious. This was sending, you know, running my rap sheet, my non-existent rap sheet, and my son's non-existent rap sheet. But I don't see anything here with checking for...
No, I'm making an assumption that this is a communications log.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, again, when I called in your card, it was via telephone, not via radio. So-
Right, and it would show up on here, because this is an event chronology log. This isn't just like radio traffic, this is an event chronology, what happened from when...
Can I just ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
So, in your understanding, can you just tell us what the event chronology is, as you understand it?
As I understand it, it's any transmissions that are made between the officers and communications dispatch personnel who are monitoring those conversations. Any radio transmissions are kept, a log is kept of that. Outside of that, the only other details would be kept via reports. That would not include, obviously, a telephone conversation.
Okay, so basically, that just goes off of anything that goes over the radio waves?
Over the radio, correct.
Okay.
And how do you intend to prove that my card was invalid at the time?
And that one, I'm just going to step in and ask him not to answer that question, because, as you know, at trial, it's not the officers that have to prove, it's the state that has to prove, and the state is me.
Oh, okay, how do you
Yeah.
intend to prove that
And
my card
that's-
was invalid when we have so much proof that it was valid?
That's not something I'm answering in this interview, because I'm not being interviewed.
I can deal with that. Okay, just a few other questions. Do you have any closing statements?
No, I do not.
Okay. And do you feel like my arrest took a criminal off the street? This is a personal opinion, this isn't...
Yeah, I'm just here to address, the questions regarding my actions that evening and the report. I'm not here to give an opinion.
And if you had it to do over again, would we be here right now?
Again, I'm following, procedures and responded based on, the information we had, so.
Would we would we be here if it was up to you and all this, if you had it to do over again.
I'm just addressing the incident that night.
Okay, all right.
So if it's okay, I just wanted to clarify one quick part just for myself. So when we started, we talked about police raids a few times. Does the word raid in the law enforcement context have a particular meaning for you?
When I think of a raid, I think of something that is a tactical type of operation involving tactical units such as a SWAT unit. Our investigation was merely just knocking on the door and contacting Ms. Huff, and then we served a search warrant there. There was no tactical units involved in the operation, which is why I referred to it as a search warrant.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify.
The Counter Narcotics Alliance generally just shows up on a search warrant. Well, I'm wondering, why did you take until April 25th to file your police report on an incident that happened on January 10th?
I couldn't tell you. I do know that the facts within my report are accurate to what took place, my actions that took place that year.
I wasn't asking about that. I was asking why you waited almost 4 months to file a report on your radioing my card. Why didn't it come in with my other ones?
Again, I can't, other than the report that you have there, the details within it, I can't tell you any other.
You are on a limit for filing these. I used to be a law enforcement transcriptionist, and we would get the reports in, and some of them are, especially when somebody was arrested, we'd have to get those back within 24 hours. And so I know there's a deadline for you filing this, and I'm sure that deadline has to be a little less than 4 months from the date of incident, which is why I asked this, and I think it's a really, it's a logical question, especially in light of the fact that you're not under oath. And so I'm just curious as to why you waited so long to file this report. It's funny because this thing was filed conveniently 3 days after a hearing where I specifically asked for this information, so that was why I'd asked. And I think that's about all I've got for you, so.
Okay, all good. So just a couple, I'm just going to ask these questions because they typically get asked in interviews like this. Sergeant Froby, is your report, to the best of your recollection, complete, accurate, everything like that?
Yes, it is.
And is there anything that you feel you need to clarify based on any of the questions that were asked, or any of the statements that are in the report, or anything like that?
No, I do not.
Okay. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and have a copy of this transcribed, and we'll make sure we get a copy of the transcript to you prior to the hearing. If you have a chance, could you go ahead and review it? And if you see anything that's inaccurately transcribed or anything like that, please let us know so we can get that corrected.
Okay.
Okay. So if that's it for everybody, I guess we can go off tape. And the time now is approximately 10:27.